Welcome to the Discovery Within podcast, where we explore the depths of self discovery and personal growth. I'm your host, Tiarra Denise.
And I'm your co host, LJ the PeaceMaker. And we're super excited for today's episode 22, where we'll be talking about guarding your energy unapologetically. And I mean, I feel like I say this at the start of every episode, but it seems like when we come up with these topics, we're already experiencing them. That's why we come up with the topic. But then as after we come up with the topic, it's like we go even deeper into really living these topics. So it's truly amazing. We're sharing with you our true personal experience and the insights that we're gaining from it to really help you navigate this thing called life and discover yourself on deeper levels.
Absolutely. And as we're, nearing nearing the end of 2024, this is episode 22. So we've come a long way with our episodes, getting these episodes out, getting messages out, sharing our insights. And I think that's something that's, worth celebrating. And then it's like we always say, these conversations, these topics they're divine because we don't just pull things out of our tail just to come up with and talk about. This is real life stuff. These are things that we live and things that we're navigating as well. So I think that that's always important to be able to share from a space of experience to give those valuable insights. But like we said, tonight's episode is guarding your energy unapologetically. And I know that from previous episodes, we probably touched on, self care, self love, those things. But, you know, as the end of the year is reaching, it's like a time of, for me at least, for reflection, to look back and see how far you've come, what you've learned, what things are you changing before the new year gets here, because you know how sometimes we get caught up at the end of the new year and we're talking about our New Year's resolutions and what we're gonna do. And I'm here to say you don't have to wait till the end of the year. You want to start something new, you can start right now. And for us, guarding your energy unapologetically is something that we're both currently living, as we speak. And I, speak from experience with me. This has definitely been a time for me to, rest, reflect, and you just go over the years and all the things that I've learned thus far in life. And you know how sometimes you hear that, it's the fourth quarter, you gotta go hard, and I'm not feeling to go hard. I'm all for work, but for me, just personally in this time, my body physically, I haven't been able to just push forward. So I know when it's time to push forward, when it's time to work hard, and when it's time to, dial back. So for me, I've been laying low. I've honestly been laying low and, just preserving my energy for myself. And as I've been doing that, it's been helping me to actually retain all of the necessary life force energy that I need for me to even thrive in life. And to the audience, I want you to ask yourself, how many times have you, felt completely, drained after a conversation or an event that you didn't want to participate in? And, you got to ask yourself those type of questions and think about, how did you feel, because I know I've been in places, I've been in conversations and stuff where after the conversation I'm totally drained and I feel like, you know what, I have nothing else to give, and then it just puts me in this space of depletion. And so I know we talked on here about, pouring from an empty cup. And for me, I starting now, not just because 2025 is on the brink. Right now is one of the best times for me to be preserving and guarding my energy, not just at certain times, but I'm learning it's an all-time thing when you're navigating, through the different seasons in your life, because you're going to reach a point where when you truly love yourself, true self-love, where you're going in, you're discovering yourself, you're peeling back the layers, you're honoring yourself, you become very mindful of where you place your time and your energy. And it's one of the most powerful places that you can be within yourself. because it helps you to, remain focused. It helps you not to overextend yourself. And then you got to look at your energy as if it's like a bank account. Like that's a valuable resource. People don't play about their money. And so think about like when you overdraw your account, now you got to pay extra fees. Apply that to like your energy. When you overextend your energy into people, places, and things that don't truly align with you, you're overpaying fees. Now you're left burnt out. You have nothing else to give. You're resentful. And those are the prices that, the fees that you have to pay from overdrawing your energy. And it honestly stems from, the programming we get coming up, when we're conditioned to believe that our value comes from doing for other people and oftentimes at the expense of ourselves. And so that puts us in that space of we got to constantly do this for people. You got to show up for people. But if it's at detriment to yourself and you have an empty cup in the end, then you got to ask yourself, then what did I do all that for? And I just let you build from that.
Well, I really love the comparison that you made about, your bank account and your energy. It's like when you do too much, spend too much, then you're overdrawn. You're in the negatives. And I mean, it is the same with regard to our energy because then you're in the negative. And it's like, what does that look like with regard to your energy? I mean, it could look like you feel drained, you feel depleted, you could feel angry because you like, I expended all this energy and none of what matters to me was done. Now I don't even have the energy to do the things that are important to me because you gave it all away. And it's like that feeling of, being overdrawn, it leaves you in this feeling of deficit, like something's missing because you left you off the list. And
Yep.
I mean, it's so important for us to really recognize you only have a certain amount of energy on each given day. You know what I mean? That's why we have to rest. We go to bed, we sleep 8 hours or whatever amount of time is appropriate for you. Sometimes we need to take a nap. We have to eat food to replenish our energy. These are all things that help to replenish our energy because we don't have an inexhaustible amount of energy. So it's like really prioritizing where am I giving my energy to and ensuring that you're making sure you are carving out time for your energy to go towards what you want. And sometimes other people don't fit, other things don't fit, other conversations, I don't have the energy. And it's not because you don't like the person or because you're mad. It's none of that. It's I have this certain amount of energy and I want to ensure that I get this done for me. So I got to cut this over here off. And I know for myself at different points, I felt like, oh, that's not right. Oh, am I being mean or am I being rude? And, really feeling this need to apologize. But I realized that, to be apologetic means that you're trying to justify something or show remorse for something that you believe you've done wrong. Caring for yourself and prioritizing what is, important to you is never nothing wrong. That's not wrong. It does not require justification. Just a simple no thank you or no I can't make it or just don't answer the phone. It's just that simple. And I think that oftentimes we overcomplicate so much because of the programming, because of society making us feel like we have to be so obligated to other people. And a lot of times, the places that we expend our energy is out of obligation. We feel like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. You don't have to do nothing. You know what I mean? Everything is a choice. So whether you do something or not, it's either you're choosing to do it or not choosing to do it. And if you're telling yourself, "Oh, I have to do this. I'm obligated to do something," then you're stepping out of alignment with the truth because the truth is you have a free will. You can say no. You know what I mean? And I mean, how many people are there that do not take care of their responsibilities or don't show up for their obligations? And not to say that that's the behavior we want to model, but that's is an option. You know what I mean? That is an option. So if you're doing something, ensure that it's because you're choosing to and because you believe it to be worthy of your energy. Going back to that bank account comparison, are you spending your money on things that you think are worthless? No, they mean something to you. That's why you're spending your money on it. You like, this has this amount of value. I'm willing to pay this. I'm going to give this so that I can get this in exchange. And when we regard our energy in that same way, you have to look at, what are you getting in exchange? And it's not about what are you getting from people or what are people doing for you. What are you getting for yourself out of this? What is the point? I'm giving my energy so that I can receive what? Joy, gladness, rest, peace, whatever, accomplishment of goals. And it's for you to really get clear, what are you receiving, what is the purpose behind what you're doing. Otherwise, you're not being intentional with your time or your energy. And that's how we feel burnt out. That's how we start feeling run down, depleted, and also bitter. Because then it feels like, oh, nobody cares about me. Meanwhile, you're the main one setting that pattern into motion. It's up to you to set yourself as a priority and recognize that you have the right to shut everything else down if it's not serving you. And it's not about being selfish, it's about self care, self love, knowing that you matter, that you need to be your top priority, because if you're not okay, then you can't benefit anything else. So, it's for us to really recognize we don't have to apologize for taking care of ourselves. There's never a need for that. Maybe you said, oh, yeah, I'm going to come out with you next Friday, and then next Friday gets here and you don't feel like it. Granted, you don't want to be the type of person doing that all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then you just full of crap and nobody wants to deal with that. But sometimes we did make a commitment and the time comes and we just don't got it in us. And we
And,
have to realize that that's okay. That's the reality of the situation. Sometimes that happens and we don't owe anyone an apology. You
mm,
can let them know, look, I really intended to make it, but now I don't got it in me and I really have to rest. And if the person cares about you, they'll accept that. Maybe they'll be a little disappointed, but at the end of the day, if you don't do right by you, then you're not going to be okay for anything else. And so it's really about important that we recognize that we don't have to apologize for taking care of ourselves and putting ourselves first. And when we overextend ourselves, then we do need to apologize to ourselves for mistreating ourselves like that. That ain't it.
yes, and I think that's major that you like even highlighted that, because it's like being unapologetic about guarding your energy. But it's like, if you gonna apologize to anybody, apologize to yourself for the energy and the time that you give to others, and you really didn't get in too much of anything in return but burnout. And so you mentioned, the thing of selfishness, because sometimes people look at acts of self care as being selfish, but it's like the truth is, selfishness disregards other people. Like, I ain't thinking about you. You just not a thought. Period. You're disregarded. Whereas self care and being unapologetic about your energy, that's about honoring your boundaries and being honest with yourself and being at your best self so that you can be your best self to others. Because if you don't take care of your foundation, which is you, your mental, your emotional, your spiritual, your overall well-being, how can you be of any gift of anything to someone else? And it's like you said, you got to think about like your time and your energy. Just looking at those as like valuable resources to yourself, because once it's spent, it's gone. And you know how they say you can't get that back. And then on my second one, she has this saying that she likes to say, time is money. And you got to look at it. Look at time and your energy as currency. You can't get that back. So you got to figure out what you're depositing things into. Am I giving my energy to things that are going to nourish me, to help me to grow, to help me expand my mind? Or am I giving and depositing into energy into things that deplete me, things that limit me? You got to think about those things. And then as far as you just being unapologetic about it, not explaining yourself, because it's going to get to that point where you're not going to need to explain yourself, because even to explain yourself, you overexert energy. You're wasting a lot of energy just by explaining yourself. But when you're a person that's not used to, being unapologetic about yourself, and you thriving and making sure you're the best mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, all those things, you experience, things like guilt, and you have these emotional struggles when it comes to, guarding your energy, because of course you want to be able to, show up and be there for your loved ones, your friends, as much as you possibly can. But when it gets to a point where you don't even have the energy and you're pouring from an empty cup, are you going to choose to dishonor yourself and go for those things and continue to give energy, life force energy that you don't have? Or are you going to be unapologetic and say, you know what? I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to preserve the little bit of energy that I do have so that I can rest, so that I can recover, so that I can reflect, and then I can come back and show up and give from a space of fullness, of wholeness. And, guilt is one of those things that, stops a lot of people from just living unapologetically and guarding their energy, because, you're used to doing and being there for other people. But like how we say, you just reframe certain things. So when you reframe the guilt. Like, it's not a measure of, wrongdoing, but a signal of unmet societal expectations. And that's where a lot of those things are, stemming from. So, because some people feel guilty just for saying no because they feel like they're obligated to their families. And you do what's expected of you. And then you have all these expectations that you're trying to live up to, and you in deep down inside now you're suppressing yourself, you're upset, you're drained, you're angry, you're resentful, but you're not saying anything because you feel like, well, this is what's expected of me. I have to show up no matter how I'm feeling, and such. And that's detrimental, because now you're not honoring yourself. The self-love and the self-care, that's the true self-care. Because we're not just talking about going to get your hair done and get your nails done. That's outside. That's exterior. The internal is what matters is what matters most. And sometimes we stop letting people go past our boundaries because we have this fear of judgment. Because sometimes we may not want to answer our phone this day because for whatever reason we're preserving our energy for ourselves, and say, you know what, I'm gonna take a day for myself. And sometimes guilt may come up, and because you may feel guilty for not being there for someone, or you have this fear of judgment of how someone may see you, because everybody's used to you showing up and being there and being available. So it gets to that point where, you know what, I'm not as available anymore, because now I'm being serious about myself. I'm being serious about my well-being. I'm guarding my energy a little bit better than I was. So some people may see you guarding your energy, not explaining yourself, as being cold, as being selfish, being distant. And those are the type of things that you're going to have to, that are going to come at you as you're stepping into that, phase of guarding your energy. But it's like you said, LJ, those that truly care for you, they'll understand, and they'll want to get an understanding. They'll want to make sure that you're okay. But those who don't, and have a reaction, or get to calling you these names and saying all types of things, those are the people that are just showing you their true colors. And that's like a thing that could help people who struggle with this, when they're meeting like that type of resistance and opposition from people who aren't, okay with how you're operating for yourself. you know, just look at their reaction. Go for it. Even if it is hard to say no anyway. Because it's gonna be those times, because it's like we're deconditioning. We're, rewriting our programming. We're undoing that old programming. So it takes time. So those things will, come up. And then even with that, when you're saying no, that pressure that you feel to just over explain yourself for why you're preserving your energy and your mental, you don't even have enough energy to even do all that explaining. So when we have these outside societal expectations from our loved ones or whoever that's around us, we feel that pressure, like, well, if I'm going to at least take this time for myself, I need to at least let them know. We're trying to be courteous, but sometimes it doesn't take you being courteous. Be courteous to yourself, because we go so hard and we push to be the best that we can be for other people that we neglect ourselves in the process. And that's an imbalance. For you to go above and beyond to explain and do all you can for others, but deny yourself, deny your truth, because most people are tired, then that's when you're dishonoring yourself. And so that's when you have to get to a point where you simplify things. If you know that you have the potential to, come in contact with someone who may have some resistance or some pushback about you choosing to guard your energy, just keep the conversation and the connection plain and simple. Things like, no, that doesn't work for me right now. Keep it plain and simple. If they don't get the message, that's okay. You keep it moving, but preserve that energy for explanation for yourself so that you can nurture yourself and just simply say things like, no, I need to focus on myself right now and let it be that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think that that's so important to keep it simple. Keep it short and simple. Because once you start saying too much, then you're going into an explanation, and that's the indication that you're feeling guilt or feeling obligated or feeling something that is imbalanced because you don't need to feel that way. And granted, those feelings come up because, societal expectations, familial expectations, expectations we placed on ourselves, habits that we've, lived by up until this point. But ultimately, it really comes down to honoring or dishonoring yourself. Because at the end of the day, when you're not well, you don't feel well, and you feel tired, you're drained, or even you're sick, nobody can fix that for you. That's up to you at that point to get very clear and be very certain. Whoops, messed up my camera. It's up to you at that point to be very clear and very certain about how you're going to proceed. Because if you're not okay, then it's up to you to take care of yourself. Nobody can do that for you. And granted, yes, maybe somebody could bring you breakfast in bed or something like that, but those things are very superficial. At the end of the day, it's really about examining the patterns that you're living by, the mindsets, the internal stresses that are causing you to feel depleted, to feel drained. Because typically, that's one of the main exertions of energy that, is depleting us feeling so stressed out, us overthinking things, us continuously bouncing back and forth in our mind between this, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do that? Trying to analyze how other people are going to feel. You don't know what's going on in other people's mind. And also, that's none of your business. Like, stop. You know what I mean? Mind your business and stay in your place, which is within you. There's more than enough work to do within each of ourselves that we don't even got time or energy to be trying to overanalyze how somebody else is going to feel, what they're going to think, or even to think that we understand what they're truly, what their motives are behind what they're saying and doing. Because sometimes you tell somebody no, and maybe you get resistance, you get some backlash, but the reason that that's occurring is because of something going on within them. You don't know exactly the root of what's going on, why they're responding in that particular way to you. And it's not your job to figure it out. It's your job to figure out why you feel obligated, why you feel like you have to be apologetic about, oh, I'm sorry that I'm caring for myself, because at the end of the day, we are the one who has to take care of ourselves. And I know for myself, when I was very sick, suffering with illness, it was so clear to me. Nobody can save my life. Like it was clear. There was no question about it. And so, granted, that didn't necessarily mean it was easy for me to set clear boundaries and tell people no and really conserve my energy. But it was clear, you want to get well or you want to die. You could keep going down in the direction that you're going, or you can start making some positive changes and start, getting energized, taking care of yourself so that you can be strong and healthy. And ultimately, that made it so clear that it's up to me to say no, not because I don't want to help the person. Sometimes I did want to. I always had a pattern of overextending myself, always being there for others. And that's what got me to the point of illness. And I had to realize that it's not about me wanting to help them or not. It's, do I want to live or not? You know what I mean? Do I want to be well? And so I really had to look at everything from that perspective and be clear. If this is something I do not want to do, then I cannot do it out of obligation, because what it's doing is draining my energy and I'm already in a deficit. I don't have extra to give for anything. And I have children that require some of my energy. So I need to make sure that I'm pouring into myself as much as I possibly can. And if I'm giving to anyone else, it's going to be my children and nobody else, because nobody else fits. They don't fit. And it's up to us to be that vigilant about where we're giving our energy, what we're focusing on, how we're perceiving things, and recognizing that we are the priority. In order for you to give fully unto others without any pretense, without any ulterior motive, and to really show up fully for others, you have to be full. If you're not full, then you're giving to other people halfway, or you're giving them depleted energy, or you're setting up some kind of codependent relationship or some kind of pattern that you are not going to be able to uphold permanently. And so it's so important for us to recognize we are the foundation of our lives. We get to choose where to give our energy. We get to choose how we prioritize ourselves, our rest, what's important to us, and also how other people treat us. So it's like we really have to recognize that people will do what you let them do. So if you letting people drain your energy all the time, then that's what they're gonna do. Because I know even for myself, there's some people that I really care about a lot, but they're kind of negative, and I have to consistently learn where to place them. I'm like, I've just had a long day. I'm very tired. I do not want to talk to this person. It's not that I don't love them. It's not that I don't care about them. It's that I don't got it right now. I just exerted all this energy for this day, and I cannot hear this negativity right now. There's other times where I'm feeling more energized and I can tolerate it. Or maybe I want to offer a kind word or some words of encouragement. And it's for us to be honest with ourselves about where we're at. Do I got it right now to give? No, then I won't. And going back to the money comparison, because I mean, that's so valuable. It's like
Mhm.
if we value our energy and our time as we do money, then we will see if I don't got it, how can I give it to you? But with regards to energy, we still be trying to give it. It's like you don't got it. Stop trying to give somebody something that you don't have. And then later, when the evidence becomes very clear to you that you don't got it, then you're mad. It's like, when you did that to yourself. So,
Mm.
we really got to recognize that we have to listen to ourselves. We have to be honest with ourselves. How you feeling? Do you want to be a part of this? Do you not? And sometimes we do want to be a part of things, but we don't have the energy. We need to rest. And it's for us to prioritize ourselves. If you don't give yourself that time to replenish and rejuvenate, then not only will you not have it now, you won't have it later either. So,
Exactly.
that's how that goes.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for, sharing all those divine truths that you just spoke because it's important. You got to understand you can't shift the focus from yourself because you're going to get to a point where you can't. And you are, like you said, you're the one that's responsible for you. You're the one that's responsible for prioritizing your well-being and making sure that you're showing up in your fullness and your wholeness. And although, you can have those outside factors don't have to, affect you in any way if you don't allow it. So it's like you said, when you get to that point where you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling fatigued, irritable, you got to sit with yourself. That's a time for you to sit with yourself. And we did a episode on, staying in tune, listening to your body because your body knows best. So think about the signs that your body is giving to you because like your inner world is always speaking to you. So think about physically when you're feeling fatigued, you got those headaches, you stressed out. Or think about, emotionally when you're irritable, you have that resentment, or you just feeling like you just anxious, you on the edge. And then, also mental, you're not focused as much anymore. You're procrastinating and you dread about any upcoming obligations that you have, like those are like those signs for you to guard your energy. That's your body speaking to you. That's your mental, your emotions. All those things are telling of something. Those are signs. Those are ways that your body, communicates with you. So those are those times where you sit back and you see like, okay, what is this trying to tell me? Where do I need to reevaluate because I know that I'm drained? And what are my triggers? What are the things that are draining my energy? And it's a discovery within. You have to go within and discover Okay, and identify what are the things that are draining my energy and what am I going to do moving forward to, let these things go. Because people can be, draining. You ever heard of that term, like energy vampires, monitoring spirits, all of that? You got to think about those people who are constantly wanting to be in your energy, just wanting to be around you, whether it's on the phone and you talking about a whole lot of nothing. Those type of people who just want to harvest your energy and they're not really giving anything back to you. Also, the people that are overly critical of other individuals and always focusing on someone else's life and over analyzing someone else's life, you know, and just think, like I said, thinking about those people who only want to call and text you when they need something, but it's never any reciprocity. So identify the people in your life first and foremost who are draining. You know those ones who only call your phone when they need a favor or they need you to do something, and they're never calling to check up on you, to ask you how your day is going, to ask you, do you need anything? How can I pour into you? Those are those people that you want to think about, letting go and guarding your energy towards. And then ask yourself things like the obligations. What obligations do I need to let go? So think about things about like social gatherings, like a friend invites you out somewhere and you honestly don't feel aligned with the place that you're going, or you just don't feel like doing it. The energy is not there, it's not aligned. What obligations do you need to let go? Even like for people like that are working, when you're at these jobs and you're doing things beyond your job description, do you need to let go of some things that you're doing in your work life? What obligations do I need to let go that aren't serving me and my well-being? And then another thing for me, because I'm on social media, I think about what I'm looking at, what I'm devoting my energy and my time to. Like if I'm constantly on social media, you're constantly scrolling or you're replying to, messages that have no substance. You're not really talking about anything. It's not really nourishing you, helping you to expand or anything like that. And just overloading yourself with entertainment, drama, and things that give you anxiety because you're looking at other people's lives and now you're like, oh, I need to be there, or now you're doubting yourself and all this stuff. Do you need to let go of focusing on what other people have going on social media, what's popping, what's the drama, what's going on with all that? Think about those things. What do I need to let go there? And also like the things that we come up in our own heads, because it's like you said, we're worrying about other people's opinions. Oh, what is this person gonna say? Over analyzing things. Let that go. Because it's like you said, what they're thinking about you, their opinion of you, their perspective, how you're going to be received, overthinking decisions that you want to make in your life, overthinking outcomes, that's none of your business. Because we also create those, ties and those barriers that cause us to drain our own energy, because it's looking within yourself and identify, okay, what do I need to do? Because the work is on you. You spotted the imbalance within yourself. You know that, okay, I just don't have the energy for these things anymore. Or I'm just not interested in certain things, certain people, certain places. And that's okay for me with where I'm at in my life. And this is the decision that I'm making for me. And you stand in your decision and you be confident about your decision, and you're not thinking about, well, if I'm making a decision for myself, how is this person going to feel? Now,
Right.
granted, if you're connected to someone, say like a business partner or something, you're making a decision to where you're going to you're going to go this way and, whatever, that's understandable. But if it's not going to affect that person's livelihood, what are you explaining yourself for? Me not answering my phone because you wanted to talk to me, that are you gonna croak over because I didn't pick up the phone? Are you going to unravel? And some people actually do unravel. Because let's be honest about this, guarding your energy. When you truly decide to guard your energy, there are going to be people that unravel, and that's telling. So you want to always pay attention to those people who unravel or have a negative reaction when you start choosing to guard your energy better, when you start to be serious about your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, your financial health, all of that, your spiritual health. If they have a problem with that, then they need to get the door. You know who and what you need to close the door on. So now you're stepping into your power, and there's no need for any explanation, because if you act like this, and I'm choosing to do something to better myself, then you no longer need to be in my energy. There's no need for a connection. And that's it. That's where it's at.
You got that right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, it's so critical that we look at it that way. Recognizing if I'm doing something to better myself and you ain't with it and ain't trying to support me, then you're part of what's harming me. It's
Yep.
That's it. It's one or the other. There's no halfway or in between. And oftentimes it's when we make these decisions and begin setting boundaries and begin trying to make changes that we get to see people's true colors. You could have been knowing them for years. Y'all was doing the same old thing, so it was all good. Now you're trying to do something different, and that's when you encounter the resistance. And I mean, that's the opportunity for you to see who's really with you, who's really for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because if somebody truly cares about you, they'll say, "Oh, I don't really understand what you're doing, but go ahead. It looks good on you." Or, "Okay, I see you real happy about it. Good, go ahead." And they will support you. And oftentimes when people start getting mad and we encounter the backlash, then we start caving in and try to cater to these people, when it's like, no, that's what had you in the situation you were previously in. It's time for a new thing, and time for us to be able to let go of whatever's not serving us, whether that be people, whether it be thought patterns we're having of ourselves, and really recognizing that this is an internal journey. We don't, granted, we all need each other, but at the end of the day, you don't need nobody to validate what you're doing and who you are. And when we're seeking these things from the outside, that's an indication that you don't feel whole and complete on the inside. And oftentimes we asking people what they think, what you think I should do, oh, how you think I should do this. And it's like, you already know the answer. If something is not feeling right to you, you need to make a change. And it's for you to explore yourself and go with it. And that's also part of not expending unnecessary energies. Be still. The answers will come when we're still, not overwhelming ourselves with all these distractions, like you were mentioning about social media and this and that, and having these nonsensical conversations and all these things that don't serve us. We know what they are. Sometimes we don't want to be honest and admit that, okay, yeah, this is draining me. But every time you don't feel good after you do something, you know what those things are. So it's important for us to be honest. It's between you and you. Look in the mirror. And if you can't be honest with yourself, then who are you being honest with? You know what I mean? Because then that just means you're not cultivating um a habit of honesty. So then are you being honest with anybody else? And the thing is too, when we're doing things out of obligation or feeling like we have to, or just to meet other people's expectation, it's like that's very dishonest as well. You're not being honest with these people about how you really feel. They think you
Mm-hmm.
like that nonsense they're over there doing. You know what I mean? Why are you doing that? Why are you lying to them? And why are you denying and dishonoring yourself? So it's honesty is so critical in this
Mm-hmm.
whole journey. And it's not about only the words we speak. It's about really standing in your truth, as you mentioned. How do you really feel about this? What do you really want to come out of life? What matters enough to you that you do want to expend your energy to? Because you can't be everything for everybody. You can't be every place at one time. And you can't have a million things going on and do them all well and successfully. You know what I mean? So it's really up to us to prioritize, to pick and choose, and to be very intentional about what we're doing, why we're doing it, do we really want to do it, and let go of the things that are not serving us. And I mean, so much of this has to do with letting go of some of the preconceived notions that we have, because I know for myself, sometimes it's like, okay, I'm gonna say no to this person, or oh, I have to, get back to this person, and I know they're not gonna like the answer that I have. And then I start conjuring all these rebuttals that they're gonna give me after I say what, and it's like, stop. I really had
Mm,
to come to a place where I had to stop. I'm going into this with no expectation. You can't hold too tightly to these preconceived notions and these expectations that are really just figments of your imagination that don't exist. You don't know what a person's going to say. You don't know how a person's going to respond. Some people, maybe based on past experience, you may have an idea how they're going to respond. But ultimately, it's like, don't we want things to go well for us? So why would we not set our expectation on good things? Expect that, you know what, no matter what anybody says, I'm going to stand in my truth. I'm going to feel good about it. I'm going to be proud of myself after the fact because I did that. And I'm expecting that this is going to turn out great. You know what I mean? And it's like sometimes that's hard and that does require effort and energy. But that's where we need to be exerting our energy, to expecting good things for ourselves, to manifesting positive things for ourselves in the future, not sitting around wasting energy trying to please everybody because everybody ain't never always going to be happy. It's like, have you met people? You know what I mean? Some people ain't
exactly.
never happy, and also acknowledging like everybody don't like you. You don't like everybody. So even that is something that we have to let go of. Wanting to make everybody happy, wanting to make sure everybody likes us. And it's like, that's just unrealistic. And
Yep.
that doesn't even exist. And I
Mhm.
mean, it's okay. Sometimes maybe it doesn't feel good when somebody don't like you, or maybe somebody doesn't like something you're doing, but you can manage those feelings and move through them just like you have previously in the past. And also, as you're honoring yourself and doing right by yourself, then you become less and less worried about how other people are feeling about what you're doing, because they are not the one who can walk your walk for you. They can't. It's all up to you. And so it's for you to really, really recognize this. This is your one and only life. And if you don't do with it what you truly desire for it to do, then it will never be done. And you got to live with that, not them.
Exactly. Because you got to think about it. If you're not honoring yourself, you don't get to sit up here and be mad at other people in the places outside of you because you're the one that makes the decisions for you, right? And it's like you said, honesty is a key component here. You got to be honest with yourself. You got to be real with yourself. You got to look in the mirror and see, okay, now where am I, you know, placing unnecessary obligations on myself? Because it's on you. You have no control over what anybody else says or how they react and all that stuff. But it's like you said, when you think about over analyzing and preparing these rebuttals for things, like you're putting those pressures onto yourself, and that's energy draining because now that's mentally taxing. Now you seeing off ahead of things, and it's not even got to that place. Like you haven't even had a conversation. So we do those things to ourselves. So it's like doing a energy check in, and that's every day. That's a daily job. Why? Because you're with you every day. Nobody else is with you every day, all the time, 24/7, but you. So are you going to run from you and your own obligations and the responsibility you have to yourself regarding your own energy? And then you just get to this point where you really sit with yourself and you ask yourself, when you're around certain people or engaging with whatever, you ask yourself, like, is this adding to my energy, or, is this draining my energy? And then you know how to move from there. Go with it. If it's adding to your energy, okay, it's a go. You know where to devote your time and your energy to. But if it's constantly draining you, you're feeling frustrated, that's a clear sign that, okay, this may be something that I need to put down. And then you want to be mindful, about, the communication. You get to this point where you avoid, gossip, any negative conversations, because things like that, you ask yourself, is this conversation even adding value to me? You don't want to no longer sit around things that don't align with you, because what it does is going to get to that point where you're not going to be able to withstand it. As you guard your energy, you're not going to be able to sit around and listen to and take in some of the same things, because your mind is expanding, your emotions, everything is expanding. So when you get it around these conversations, or it's going a certain way that you ain't trying to go, then you can redirect those conversations that don't serve you. And then you also got to have like these practices for yourself, because life gonna life, you're gonna run into people, you're gonna meet the resistance. So you got to figure out different techniques and practices for yourself to keep you grounded as you navigate and make those decisions when it comes to guarding your energy. And I know for me, I'm a nature girl, so I'm walking, constantly grounding, doing breathing exercise, and then just sitting with myself to give myself those moments, because you don't have to get to a point where you're frustrated, you're upset, you're feeling resentful. It doesn't have to get to that anymore when you start to truly protect and guide your energy. Because now you're looking at, okay, when those feelings come up of frustration, or you're starting to feel resentment, that's the time for you to assess yourself and set boundaries with yourself. And that's with people, that's with the conversations you entertain, that's with what you're taking in, whether that be for entertainment or whatever it is. Think about when I was talking about the technology, like being on social media. What boundaries are you gonna set with yourself on that? You're gonna have hours where you're focused just on for work or whatever, or you have those things where you turn off notifications for unnecessary things that don't nourish you. You get to that point, because I know for me personally, it took me a long while, because I'm a recovering people pleaser. So I'm getting to that point where I'm focusing on simplifying my life. I'm focusing on decluttering, because I do care about myself. And when you care about yourself, you are adamant about what you take in, who you are around. Those things come important to you, because you are the one that has to take care of you.
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, as you were talking, what came to mind? So yesterday, I was doing my prayer time, and I do a daily prayer time, and so I want to say several months ago, I started putting my phone on do not disturb during my prayer time, because before
Mhm.
that never even crossed my mind. I was just like, okay, it's prayer time. Let me go over here and do this, and then sometimes I'd hear a text while I'm doing it, and
Mhm.
I could feel the pull. Like it's almost like
Yes.
this involuntary compulsion, like wanting to go over there, wanting to see who it is. And I'm trying to stay in prayer, and my mind is over there, you know? So, I recently made sure I put on my do not disturb. So that way, this is a sacred time. So yesterday, I put on my do not disturb. I have my prayer time. I get up. I'm feeling charged up, energized. You know that this is part of what gives me energy, because I feel pumped. I feel connected. I feel aligned afterwards. So I go to my phone, and I see I missed a very important call that I had been waiting for, because my phone was on do not disturb. And so I just I could feel anxiety wanting to come on me, but I'm like, no, I'm high. Like, I'm not letting that take me. So I just took a deep breath, and I breathed, and I said, I trust that everything's working out just right. Everything's working out perfectly for me. Before I saw that I had that call, I knew everything was working out for me. So why would now I think any different? What is the point of me doing these prayers and getting all energized if I'm gonna let one little thing come and wipe it away? And so, okay, I moved on with my day, but I felt so proud of myself, because I'm like, wow, that was a test, and not a pass or fail test. Because we often think, oh, when we're being tested, it's about you pass or fail. No, these tests are to show you where you're at. And I'm like, that showed me that I'm getting very grounded in my peace, very stable in it, that nothing is going to come along and sweep me away and start shaking me up, when I know everything is okay. God got me. Things are working out, moment to moment. It's okay. I'm fully provided for. And I recognize that at another time, that would have had me so shook up. My mind would have kept going over and over and over how that should not happen. Now what's gonna happen? Now what do I do? This, that, and that. Oh, I didn't charge my ring light, so it just went out. But anyway, I'm still here. Um, but so it really just showed me how far I'd come with regards to guarding my energy. Because ultimately, a phone call, a text, that's all stuff from the outside. I'm over here working hard to preserve the inside, to feel like I'm in alignment, to feel highly energized, to feel centered, grounded, and in a peaceful state. And so at other points, it would be so easy for something from the outside to come and sweep me away and take me where somewhere else that I don't want to be. And so yesterday, it was really evidence of how far I've come, because that missing that important call, it didn't get to take me somewhere. It wasn't allowed. I'm like, I don't think so. Not today, not no more. And I mean, I mentioned that example because I feel like it's a very clear depiction of how we need to guard our energy. We get to decide, no, you don't get to take me to where you're at. No, you don't get to take me off center. And granted, sometimes things happen and, we involuntarily start freaking out. But that's like when, like you said, when we give ourselves a moment, breathe, give yourself a moment, go sit down, go for a walk, recalibrate, get back to center, because that's all part of you guarding your energy. And when we start letting things get us too worked up, whether it be a person, whether it be technology, whatever it is, it's draining our energy because we're giving all this energy to it. And a lot of time we didn't even consciously choose to do that. The thing just showed up and then we just let it start sucking all our energy away. And it's like, no, I don't think so. Because I mean, energy vampires don't only need to be people. It could be the TV show that you be watching every night that's
Mm-hmm.
just draining you, making you feel less than, making you feel not good, making you feel like you gotta live like these people and be like this, and you're not good enough, and you're not this and that. And I mean, ultimately, it's very simple. When you feel energized, you feel empowered, you feel strong, you feel ready to take on whatever you're confronted with. When you feel depleted, you don't feel good. So if what you're doing has you not feeling good, then it's time for you to set some clear boundaries and recognize that you are letting things deplete you. But it's not about you starting to deplete yourself further by beating yourself up. It's about lovingly telling yourself, okay, something you're doing is not working for you. So let's figure this out and really have these conversations with yourself. Because I talk to myself all the time. You know what I mean? It's not even like I have a daily check-in time. I'm talking to myself moment to moment. I'm talking to God moment to moment. I'm like, whoa, that just happened. I feel weird. How do I feel right now? I don't know what that feeling is. I'm like, let me sit down for a second. It kind of feels like anxiety, kind of feels like confusion, and really assessing these things in the moment. So that way I'm able to process it, breathe through it, figure out how to proceed.
Oh, did she go out? Yeah, she went out, but I just wanted to, add to what she was saying because it is essentially on you to make sure that you're doing the task for yourself. And I want to call it, standing on business. You're standing on business about your boundaries. You're standing on business about your mental health, your emotional well being, all of that. And like from my own experience, you are going to experience pushback from people. There's going to be external resistance when you start to stand true in guarding your energy. You're gonna have those people that's gonna push against your boundaries, and it's to be expected. But you can practice, not taking it so personally because you got to understand that you know what you're doing it for. You know that you're doing this, and it's about. Let me bring her back on. Okay.
I'm back.
Okay, there we go. But I was just piggybacking off of what you were saying, and I was saying like how when you go through this phase where it's not a phase, but when you're going through this thing where you're starting to guard your energy and being serious about that, that means you're standing on business. You standing on business about you because that internal work, that guarding of that energy, making sure that you're nourished, your mental, your emotional, all that is intact. That is a big job. And so you must stand on business for that. And as you're doing that, and as you're navigating your life, and you get even more serious and you start to live it and you standing on your boundaries, you're going to get pushback. Expect some external resistance because it's not gonna stop. Because it's like you said, sometimes we feel like we get tested. I know for me personally, if you want to call them tests, I say I've been getting tested a lot with that. But when it comes to, you set a boundary and you put it in place, you gonna have to repeat it sometimes. Because sometimes people think, well, okay, maybe they just saying that right now. She's just like that right now. And they're gonna come back and try to ask you to do something else or ask in a different way and try to negotiate. And if the answer is still no for you, it's just a simple no. And if that person can't get it, don't try to make them get it. Know what you need to continue adding your energy to. If you've already said no and this person is not open to it, they're not trying to receive it, they're not trying to hear it, then you need to go this way. You need to go the opposite direction and stay calm and consistent, because when you start to guard your energy and you're serious about it, it's going to require consistency, because people are always going to come out of there. Somebody's going to always need something. And sometimes when you get that pushback and you tell them people no, they look at you like you just don't say the craziest thing ever. Like, what is that? You don't have to let their reaction really affect you, because their reaction is about them. It's not about you. How they react and how they feel, that's on them to deal with. It's not for you to smooth things over, make this person feel good and validate their feelings and all that stuff and over explaining yourself, because you're just repeating what you're trying to get out of. And so, I mean, and even sometimes you may want to negotiate or something. Someone come and ask you something, but it has to be, at your terms. And if they don't like it, because you got to think about it. We've been taught to overextend ourselves. It gets glorified if you're doing this. Oh, I did this, I bought this, and I was over there and I told this person this, and all that. That gets glorified, that overextension. But then it's like it comes a time where you want to stop that, because you're doing those things and you're really not getting anything in return. And then sometimes you can negotiate with someone and you tell the people your terms and your stipulations and how this thing is gonna go. And if they're not rocking with that alternative, then you know that this is something I need to let go of. But a lot of us, we tend to compromise ourselves. We compromise our well being. We compromise our mental, our emotional health, all for the sake of showing up, all for the sake of being there for others. But then you are the one that's left to pay that toll. You are the one that's gonna have to get you through that. No one else can come and lift you up and get you to that point where you're taking care of yourself and you're guarding your energy. That's on you. It's a you job. And it's on you if you run from it. It's on you if you don't put in the work to sustain that. Because when you're feeling down and out, you feel resentful and you feel like you don't have anyone in your corner, and you gave and I'm done, and you're mad. It's still you there that has to look in that mirror, because those people got what they needed. It's about you. What are you gonna do? So you gotta, be serious about it when you're guarding your energy, and know that that's what it's gonna come with, and you stand on it. If it's a no, it's a no. If a person feels like you gotta explain and you ain't even in that mood for explaining anything, you keep it simple. And always keep it centered to yourself and let them know what you're doing for yourself. Because you are the one that's gonna have to decide what it takes to get you back in alignment and get you back in a balance, so that your energy is balanced and you're not all over the place. You're not giving too much. It's gonna be on you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I know for myself, one of my constant prayers is for God to help me to continue to stand in integrity. And it's like, at another point, I would have thought that meant, oh, let me keep being honest or, being, I don't know, kind or truthful. And what it means to me now at this point in time is, God, help me to use as little words as possible, so I'm not saying too much where I'm stooping down to
Yep.
people. Like, I'm royalty. I don't need to be over here having a conversation trying to explain myself to you when that's not what the queen do. Like, what am I over here doing? And
Yeah.
granted, I recognize that sometimes when we start talking too much, we automatically start slipping into that place. It's like, no, if I believe I'm the boss of mine and I'm royalty and, I'm on top of my game and I'm high energy and I'm aligned, then it's not for me to be lowering myself for nobody, because that means that I'm doing that to myself. And later on, when I'm mad at myself, because why was I doing that? You know what I mean? So oftentimes, the fewer words we use, it helps us firstly to conserve energy, but also it helps us to not get into those places of bitterness and being upset and stuff because we're saying too much. You already doing too much once you started explaining. Someone asked you, would you like to engage in this? No, thank you. You could say it with a smile on your face and then depart before you start talking nonsense that's going to have you over explaining or get you into a place where now you're not sure how to get yourself out of it because you done crossed your boundary. You know what I mean? And it's like that's a lot of what I've been learning so much lately, that limit the words that you're using. Be very direct. Be straight to the point. Keep it as concise as possible. How can you get this point across in as few words as possible? Because there, granted, there is a time to explain things, but most often it's not that time. You know what I mean? So really recognizing that sometimes we talk ourselves down from our high place. You know what I mean? We be feeling energized and feeling great, and then you was standing over there talking way too long. You should have kept that conversation to 5 minutes and left. And now you're not feeling right, but it's because you crossed your own boundary. You opened the door for that person to start, I don't know, trying to lay their guilt on you or whatever it is. So it's really important for us to recognize that we got to keep ourselves in a high place. And when I say that, I mean in a high place of priority. You are your top priority. You don't need to bend down to somebody who's looking like, please come down here where I'm at. You don't have to. Why? Are you asking other people to explain to you why they're not doing what you want? I know I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm doing what I want. If you don't do what I want, I'm not wanting you to do what I want. I want you to do what you want because I want you to be happy too, like me, like I'm trying to do. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be happy. I want you to be happy. And each person, and you recognize that when you're caring for yourself, when you're conserving your energy and really honoring yourself, then you're not trying to suck on other people's energy. And it becomes very clear when others are trying to do that. And when you feel like somebody is trying to cross your boundaries, that's your signal to exit stage left before you get sucked in. Because sometimes, especially in the beginning, when we start setting these boundaries and we start, really doing our best to conserve our energy and protect ourselves, we're not solid enough in that new boundary. You know what I mean? So it is going to be tested. And those are the times where we have to keep it real short. Certain people that I would encounter, I would always have an exit strategy. I was like, all right, after 5 minutes, I'm going to look at my phone and be like, oh, gotta go. Because I knew I wouldn't be able to tell them no, or they might suck me into wanting to explain. So, I mean, I know our time is up, but I really just want to drive that home that it's up to each one of us to really guard our energy, to protect yourself by any means necessary, whatever that looks like for you. And it's not about necessarily being rude, but it's about being short, direct, concise, and use as few words as possible because the more words you use, then you starting to explain.
Absolutely. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's episode 22. Being unapologetic about guarding your energy. And we just hope that you take forth these insights, and that it, resonates with someone. We always look forward to hearing from you in the comments. But it is what it is. It's time to step into it. It's time to be unapologetic about your well being, about your energy. Your energy is your currency. And until next time, whether you've been on this journey for a while or you're just now beginning your journey, know that there's always room for more growth and more self discovery. Y'all have a good one.
Peace.